What we mean in this is that we cannot work all together in a whole ecosystem. So putting together business and also universities and research to create adapt to the biggest challenge that we have actually in the next 160 partners across Europe. So it's a really pan-European to work on climate issues. So we cover all the 20. We are working in the Regional Innovation Scheme. That is the program where I'm from South and Eastern Europe. And this is particularly working on climate change where the need is higher. Because the places like in the Central East Europe that is facing the transition from cold regions to sustainable ones are those that are really facing these challenges. Most of the effects that climate change is bringing. So we are working on several topics, mainly in urban transition, in decision metrics and finance, in a sustainable production system, and of course in sustainable land use, which is our main relation with two partners. In the general risk program, we have 15 partners, and here we have BGI. This is mainly our business partner. Then we have Idanha-a-Nova, which is our university research partner, and we will have soon in 2000 cover the governmental part with public utility and connection program, and a lot of activities that maybe we will explain later on what it is.
That's great. Joseph, if you don't mind, I'll go first to the next lady. Yes, and I'll come back to you. I promise. So Anais is Gonzalez. Skype rather. He works for EIT Health, Spain. EIT Health is one of the other KICs. I'm sure. Maybe Anais, tell us a bit more about EIT Health, goals, and why is there a relationship with food?
Well, first of all, Portuguese is not my second language indeed. So first of all, thank you to, I'm sorry I cannot be there. So, well, regarding EIT Health, Europe, I'm the innovation manager from the Spanish CLC that basically covers almost 20 partners from private like Abbott Nutrition, hospitals, plus universities and research centers. So indeed, the relationship between food and health indeed is quite easy to find, but sometimes we struggle to really transform this relationship and the kind of healthy habit we have, and prevention campaigns and right actions in the healthcare system or in the primary care system. So the quality of food, the quality of the habits of the society have a direct a direct consequence in the health of the society. So the relation is pretty clear. Or food and EIT Health are already working in this challenge is how to put all together, all the scale sides to work together at this moment.
Thank you, Anais. Now we go back to Idanha. I'll come back to Idanha. Joseph, you joined recently Big Honest team. Tell us a bit more about you and the challenge that you have had of you.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I won't even try and speak in Portuguese because other languages, so we'll leave it at that. Yeah, as Gonzalo mentions, I started just in August. Team, and I have the very, very lucky role of, if you are a startup anywhere in Southern Europe, so Portugal, Spain, Italy, Greece, Turkey and Israel, You might just have an idea, right up to if you're raising a Series A investment round. Then I have programs, money, networks, all of those things to support you, which is great, because of all the regions in Europe to work on food, I feel I'm expecting to put on about 20 to 30 kilos over the coming year properly.
So now that you mentioned that you have all that entrepreneurs need, I'm sure it'll be flooded with ways, and that's a good way of attracting attention. Very clever. So maybe, Annalisa, we can start with you. You mentioned the kick is win the climate kick. What is it about sustainable land use? Can you tell us a bit more about what it covers, what it means?
So the sustainable land use is covering mainly the acceleration in climate smart agriculture. So all that is also related to digitalization and to improvement of data and use of data in agriculture systems. But it's also related to the there is usually, we are talking about forests, but how to exploit them, while we are working also in the integration of forest and of rural areas with the urban areas and how they can leverage. Also working in the food value chain. So how to improve the food value chain in improving the circular economy. So what is key and what relate us also with IT food is that we are trying to close the loop in the circular economy, starting from the agriculture to its consumption, so throughout the whole value chain. In fact, usually we are used to think about as two different aspects, while we need to put them together if we really want to have an agri-food sector sustainable. So these are the main challenges we are tackling with our programs now.
You mentioned the common aspect in the Mediterranean countries that everyone knows now is those countries that will suffer more from this climate change and desertification. It will be represented here: Italy, Portugal, Greece, Spain, France. The Sahara Desert is moving up.
Yeah.
Do you think we are doing enough?
No.
What can we improve, Annalisa?
What he used to say is that Europe is not on track. Globally, we are not on track. So the 24% of global emissions comes from agriculture, so something is not working. And we are losing every year 7 trillion of euros for how we are tackling our environmental globally.
Trying to make the sums,
that's something that is crazy amount, and it's just because we are not caring about the just an environmental biodiversity loss, but it's also an economic loss. So what we need to do is huge, but we are trying to. We are putting together this, bringing the research to the market, bringing startups to be bigger, connecting all the. What we aim to do is also to say, okay, we have an expertise in one of these countries. What we can do in Portugal is probably replicable in other countries like Greece, like Malta, like Cyprus, and so we have like Israel, Turkey. We face all the same climate challenge with the agriculture, but also for all the system that we have. This is really a huge problem for the Mediterranean. Forestry, the fires, we all know about floods, about fires that happen in our countries. So it's also the need to develop not only local communities, but also to develop an ecosystem at European level where we can exchange our knowledge, so to create something that we not need to create every time from the start, that brings us to need a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of resources, while if we just be open to can grow ourselves and also make it faster, the approach that we have to climate change.
You mentioned the forests. I know that SLU. What innovations do you think are going to help us manage those forests under the stress now of drought and severe floods? So it's either very little time, and then all the soil washes away. Have you seen any innovations which are forests in adaptation of this climate, which is a bit crazy?
Yeah, for this topic, what we are working now mainly is the system alert, and also how to prevent with previous warning before. So, like for example, we are working a lot with Copernicus program. This is one of the flagship for Climate Kick, the forestry topic. And one of the projects, for example, that I can explain about is called Saturn, and it's also how to relate how we can manage the information together, and how we can use the urban data to support also what's happening in the forest, to know before what is happening in the two sides. So this is like satellite program. So interesting, and it's now started last year in Trentino Alto Adige. So it's one closer to me. It's one Italian project, but generally we are fire alert as well. So there are quite few things starting, but for the moment it's more on how to prevent and how to adapt, because mitigate is taking longer, and we need now a very fast adaptation.
So maybe satellites will help save our forests. We go back to you. I'm not sure the mayor is in the room, but he has a very nice saying. He says, o melhor medicamento é o alimento. And now I will say this in English, is your food. How far can we take this statement?
Well, indeed, if you consider the current situation and the implication habits in the chronic conditions that are right now present in the society, indeed is more true than the big challenge is how to make the society aware of the consequence of not having a proper diet, especially a diet that covers healthy food, non-processed, natural, and in easy preparation usually. And how this is really an investment you are doing in your future, indeed. And not only, and this is a personal opinion, but for me, the most important at this moment are the awareness campaign for children and for youngers, because we are creating citizens of the future. So these are the part of the society we will need to concentrate in let them know what places like yours is doing to increase the quality of food, and not only food, nutraceuticals and other topics related.
Building on this need for better non-processed or better processed foods, the mayor has a program 114, and 114 is years old, because the older person that ever lived in Idanha was 114. That we have European-wise, we know that the population is aging, that we need care, we need better diagnostics to improve the standard of care and try to detect, let's say, big diseases or big issues that can create morbidity in this older aging society that, for instance, Portugal is very much in the top list of the ranking. Typically, we are on the top of the older aged population. We are a lot of youngsters immigrated. How can we, or what measures is EIT Health or facilitating for point-of-care solutions, for rural areas, for providing diagnostics, let's say, closer vision of the health of the populations, so that we can move from a urban environment to a rural environment?
Well, at the end, areas are more or less the same of the rest of the country, but with the inconvenience somehow that putting the resources is more difficult. Several projects in the portfolio right now that the main objective is fully deploy that clinical pathways for prevention, quick identifications in rural areas indeed, and deployment is for a solution. No one's really are able to put it in the reality. So these are examples that for us are quite important. Second one, this kind of approach that requires a change in the society in maker is one of our main goals as AD Health. So you have to take into consideration we have several tools to help this process of deployment and to somehow ensure that everyone is on the same page at the time to take the decision. And third, and for me it's quite important considering the audience of today, we also have startups that are having, they are working in solutions not only for places like Barcelona or Lisbon. I mean, what we are looking for are solutions in the place really make the difference. And sometimes everyone is like, but indeed the majority of the society not necessarily are here, and the main needs maybe are not here. So I'm welcome all the startups from the audience that are working in topics related with health to contact AD Health to show you a little bit of what we are doing to support you.
That's great. Thanks for the offer, and it certainly will be. Joseph, I will come back to you on this theme of startups. Why are startups important to catalyze this change in all of these challenges? Why do the entrepreneurs will be the key to these solutions? Poor entrepreneurs, you know, the world is as it is, and now it's their fault.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think maybe more than ever, society is moving at a pace that's kind of unprecedented, and new ideas are coming about all the time. And the food system in particular is dominated by a very small handful of very, very large players. You know, you look at grain in the world and 80% of it. The same with seeds, the same with production.
I guess that's bad or good.
I'd say both. I'd probably and one of the downsides is when you're that big, it's very difficult to be quick, to be nimble, to launch new products. The entrepreneurial ecosystem does is it comes along and says a different way is possible. Someone can come and demonstrate that not only can you build a really profitable business, but one that is better for people's health, better for the environment. Nudges the big businesses in the right direction. You know, I don't think you would have had a commitment from a company like Unilever to change their environmental footprint to zero if there hadn't been startups like, I don't know, Innocent Smoothies or something that had come along company, but do it in a way that's good for the environment and good for people's health. So
startups are challenging the incumbents, and they're starting to feel the pinch?
Yeah, perhaps. I think that's the really positive side.
Initiatives within the Food Kick and startups. What measures? I understand you're raising a fund for. I mean, that's quite unique within the Kick environment.
So from January next year, we are launching What people say is a small fund, for me it's definitely more money than I've ever seen in one place.
How much are we talking about?
It's 20 million euros. So
nice checks.
Yeah, it's beginning. It'll buy me a nice holiday house and things like this. No, and so it's for kind of seed stage, Series A.
What did you define seed?
To 250,000 euros we'll invest. It would typically be equity, but we're also looking at kind of doing convertible notes. And yeah, it's going to begin early next year. The money is quite interesting in it. The fund, the money is coming from the partners, so it'll be, you know, 1 million coming from Pepsi's corporate venture fund, 1 million coming from Sodexo's corporate venture fund, and so it's a kind of model and a normal kind of impact model.
I must say that's quite unique that you managed to balance all these, you know, corporate interests and say, give me some of your EBITDA cash flow and I'll put it in a fund. I'll invest it through EIT Food and I'll give you returns. What do you hear from these corporates as you're fundraising? Do they believe in you, or they say, okay, here's the money and don't come and ever, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, it hasn't been the easiest process. They say they're starting small because we've managed to convince about 10 or so now to come on board, and that's what we're going to get started with. And then hopefully that over the coming years we'll be able to demonstrate the kind of this triple bottom line that everyone wants to see, and then other companies, other individuals, investors will want to contribute to the pot until we've got something kind of much bigger.
Congratulations, that's very, very unique within the Kick. Now want to probe the audience before we wrap up for lunch. By the way, who's an entrepreneur in the room? And put your hands up. We have one there, a few, okay. Who's looking for funding? Okay, so we're all looking for funding. Some are not admitting it, but we're all looking for investors. Good, and grow our ventures. Quite a transformation that it comes in the next few years from Idanha and to the world of Idanha. So questions. We have any questions you want to address. Now is the time. There's still some energy before lunch.
Hi. My name is Francisco, PhD on sustainable energy systems. I'm aware of several EIT initiatives. They are great. They have interesting, very interesting ways to move on with these European. I'm thinking of EIT for digital transformation, EIT food, EIT raw materials, and so on. So many, I don't want to call it silos because I know that you work together. I was wondering how the collaboration between the different EITs, because when you think about EIT food, you have to think not only of agriculture, transformation, the commercialization, and so on. So you are always talking about resources, energy. Well, you're talking about the value chain anyway. So just like to hear from you a little bit more about
Anaïs, you want to go first?
From health, I have to say that EIT Health and EIT Food are currently preparing a cross-kick number of actions that will be putting in really approach how food production and health should be worked together that means we will have actions not only internally for partners, for both partnership, but also for startups, education and citizens. So.
Good, thank you. Annalisa, what's your take?
Well, I can add also, we have now in process like cross-kick actions that is between climate kick and raw materials, and is to develop a government plan for the circular economy that will be actually presented next year. So now is in the process of we are developing, but also we are developing a lot, trying to connect with all the other kicks. And now I'm launching like a proposal, but something that is a kind of obvious in Idanha Full Lab, presenting the bootcamp with Climate Kick. This year, BGI has brought here the EIT Food Awareness Day. So I see already through partners and hubs like we have in the RISC program, like BGI, hubs that are actually creating the cross-kick opportunity. So this will be also with health will be an interesting cross-kick opportunity for us.
Any final words on that? Maybe I was going to say, maybe when we launch the fund, we do a cross-kick activity TBD to celebrate. Okay, thank you. If there's maybe one last question, we'll take it. Otherwise, we'll wrap up for lunch. Otis, is there one more question? So it looks like I will not be fired by Sophia because I'm keeping on time. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name's Michael, and I just have a question for the EIT Food EITs. What are the key success impacts that you're looking for beyond the systemic themes?
In terms of kind of the social environmental impacts we're trying to aggregate? Funding?
This work with startups at this point to really start to apply pressure, let's say, to industry to look at innovating in the space of food. Impacts that are being discussed from an EIT food point of view. Is it X number of companies that are still alive after 5 years? Is it acquisitions by other companies? Is it impact on the ground through changes in types of food that are grown or processing techniques? What are the key impact measures?
In your fund.
In the fund, they're still to be defined because, yeah, it launches early next year. With the kind of the business development, business startup support stuff we do generally, we have some metrics that are looking at survival rates, profitability, investment funds raised, jobs created, those kind of things. And then my background has always been kind of the charity, social enterprise world. And so the bit that I'm also super keen on tracking is things like, you know, kilos of CO2, number of people who have increased access to nutritious food, all those kind of social impact metrics as well.
So, I guess it's time for lunch. Thank you very much for your patient interest, audience, engaged audience. Thank you to our panelists. Anais, thanks for inputs, Annalisa, Joseph, and everyone. Thank you. Let's go for lunch.
Thank you.
Peço desculpa, estava só aqui a finalizar uns detalhezinhos logísticos e daí ter demorado aqui um bocadinho mais. Uma vez, eu queria, antes de nós irmos, eu sou a pessoa que está entre vocês e o almoço, o que me torna uma pessoa pouco desagradável. Eu queria, por favor, chamar ao palco o Milênio BCP, que esteve hoje aqui também a trabalhar basicamente a explicar aos empreendedores de Idanha como é que eles podiam usufruir desta parceria, e por isso a parceria entre a BGI e Gonçalo, não sei agora. Queremos representar aqui de uma maneira mais simbólica esta parceria entre a BGI e o BCP, nomeadamente para conseguir ajudar os pequenos negócios de Idanha a tornarem-se maiores. Portanto, para já vamos só proceder aqui a este, digamos, momento mais simbólico. Depois... Sim? Tem aqui uma cantinha. With this partnership, what we aim at is to, from now on, explain to all the potential farmers and other traditional businesses that they can actually get to these. And the important part is that this Millennium BCP is not only trying to help out through the money, and they already have some success cases. That's why we think it is important to bring them to Idanha. A música.
Today we are celebrating not just private banks in Portugal, Millennium BCP, for microcredit, 5,000 is kind of 10,000, 50,000, but next year we want the millions.
Okay. Eu falo em português, agradeço microcrédito, a oportunidade de estarmos aqui e de celebrar este protocolo com a BGI e acreditamos que pode ser uma nova oportunidade para estes microempreendedores, também na área agrícola, e o Millennium BCP é um instrumento de apoio a esta realidade. Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado pelo apoio. Obrigado.
Muito obrigada, Millennium BCP. E agora sim, está na hora de, digamos, meia hora, já temos. Vamos agora proceder então ao almoço de networking. Esperemos que aquilo que vocês falaram aqui na conferência, muitas potencialidades dentro do AIT, procurem as vossas potenciais oportunidades futuras. E mais importante, vamos ter 2 sítios para o que é no G-Hotel, e vai haver um ponto que é aqui por baixo de nós no restaurante. Daí que eu diria, para começarmos a dividir, podemos fazer uma divisão direita-esquerda, ou podemos, Cristina, como é que estava a dizer? Ou então podemos começar a encher aqui em baixo e assim que chegarmos ao limite do outro local. Ok. Obrigada. Alguma dúvida? Não? Perfeito, obrigada. E até às 14h20.